In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we thank Almighty God, Allah, for his coming in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. So, assalamu alaikum to everybody.
Alaikum salam, sir.
So we're going to open up in prayer, then we're going to get to it. So prayer. Allah is the greatest, Allah is the greatest, Allah is the greatest, Allah is the greatest. Oh Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. And we seek thy refuge from being overpowered by death and the oppression of men. Oh Allah, us what is lawful, and keep us away from what is prohibited, and keep us free from want, from that which is besides thee. Ameen. So, in the most holy name of Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, we thank Almighty God Allah for his coming, and we thank Almighty God Allah for his raising up the most humble and honorable Elijah Muhammad. We also thank Almighty God Allah for his raising up in our midst the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and our most honorable Elijah Muhammad for raising up in our midst the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And dear brothers and sisters, in addition to me expressing my gratitude for Allah coming and for him raising up the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and for them raising up and leaving us one, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I also thank Almighty God Allah for each and every one of you all, and for everything that you have done, everything that you are doing, and everything that you plan and will do in the name of Islam. We thank you for your walk. We thank you for your practice. We thank you for striving to be the best MGT you can be and the best FOI that you can be. We thank you, and I greet you in the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, sir.
So, dear brothers and sisters, we thank you again for sharing, for being here for our second installment of I Have a Testimony. And how this began was, I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say that, he said that too many of his witness bearers are too damn quiet, right? And when our sister Claudette wrote a book about her life, and we had the opportunity to be in the hotel suite with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for dinner, and the minister was talking about how amazed that he was about learning her story. He said that these are the type of stories that I don't hear. And immediately my mind began to start moving, and I came back home, and the believers in our city, those who wanted to participate, we put all of our testimony, we wrote our testimony, put it in a book, sent it to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as an anniversary gift. But that began to start making me wonder about the testimony, right? The power of the testimony. In the Bible, it says that Satan was defeated by the blood of the Lamb and the power of their testimony. So I always have this desire that I wish people can see and experience the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as I have been blessed to experience him. Because here's a man that is misrepresented, grossly misrepresented by the actual media, right? And these I Have a Testimony are geared to get those who've had the opportunity to meet the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, be around the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to tell their story, but also to testify of the character of the minister, the love of the minister, the commitment of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and other things that they have been blessed to see. And I told this to our brother who we're going to have today, our student minister, Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad, who's the Southern Regional Minister. I told him that he is one of the to me, he's like the strongest witness bearer. When they were inviting everybody up to Chicago to speak, when Brother Sharrieff gave his lecture, Brother Sharrieff testified about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And then right after that, he took his lecture and it was put in form of a book. And I got it. He's always adamant about telling and talking about what he has seen. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan knows that, because in any given lecture, we see the minister, when he wants somebody to bear witness, he calls Brother Sharrieff up and say, "Did I tell him that, brother?" "Yes, sir, Brother Minister, you did." So when I had the opportunity to get our brother's book, I didn't get it when we were in Savior's Day. I didn't have a chance, but our student captain, Brother Jason Muhammad, had the book. And I said, "Jason, let me read your book, man." And let me tell you, brothers and sisters, when I picked this book up, I did not put it down. I finished it in like a day and a half. This is a very powerful witness bearing of our brother. So if you don't have it, make sure you get this book, and you can go to www.sharrieff.com. make sure you get this book. You can get it on, you can get a physical copy, and you can also get it on a digital ebook, right? This is a very powerful book. And then in addition to that, here's another book. I don't know, can you see it? Where it says The Ambassador of Love, right? Two powerful titles. A Soldier for the Movement of Christ and An Ambassador of Love, where our brother has never seen before photographs. And he has some words in the beginning. Make sure you get this. Make sure you get this book, brothers and sisters. Trust me. This is something, if you want to have a better understanding of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, if you want to learn more about his character and his love and the type of man that he is, you have to get these books. And I just recently got this, Brother Sharrieff. I want to tell you, this is a very professional and well put together magazine, brother. I want to
thank you.
So make sure you get it. Rise, the magazines. It's the first special edition, and we'll put the links up in the comment section for stuff for everybody they can know how to get these. So first, I didn't say Ramadan Mubarak to everybody. Ramadan Mubarak. So,
Ramadan Kareem.
So Brother Sharrieff, we thank you, brother, for this opportunity, and we're definitely looking forward to it. And we got time, and we're gonna get into it. I asked him, I said, do you want me to send you the questions ahead of time? He said no, so we're just gonna roll with it. So the first question that I want to ask Brother Sharrieff is in regards to this, is a two-part question. One, why did you write the book? And why do you think people should get this book, get these books?
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. I want to thank you, Brother Willie, for allowing me to come on your Zoom, and thank your listening audience. I thank the Honorable Louis Farrakhan for allowing me to serve. Always got to give him his props.
That's right.
Now, I wanted to say the reason why I wrote the book really is that Brother Wahid kept after me. Brother, you should write a book. You got to tell the story. The people need to know. Because look how long it took me. I wasn't thinking about writing no book. And then one day he got me in front of the minister, and I didn't know he was going to do this. We were standing in front of the minister. He said, Brother Farrakhan, I've been telling Brother Sharrieff he should write a book. And the minister said, he ain't going to write it. And right then I knew what time it was. So to answer both questions, that's the reason why I wrote the book, by the grace of God.
And what would you tell to people about why they should get this book?
I would tell them the reason they should get the book, if you want to know any intimate stories about the Honorable Louis Farrakhan and to know his character.
Yes,
the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has an impeccable character.
Go ahead.
And I wanted you all to get this book and read the story, and to get the book to also know that you can start off from, quote unquote, being a lost found and being into the world. But when you come into Islam, under the teaching of Honorable Louis Farrakhan, it would change you from the way of the world into a Muslim. So there's many brothers and sisters out there that think that maybe I can't be no Muslim, I can't change because of my lifestyle. No, that does not matter. This teaching, the life-giving teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that's taught by the Honorable Louis Farrakhan will change you. So if they get the book and see where I came from, and they can say, oh, well, if he did it, I can do it too.
Very good, very good. Now, as I read through your book, it made me realize even more so, Brother Sharrieff, how all of us who came to the nation, as our regional minister says, he said, if the devil didn't send you, then God selected you. And he talk about your grandfather, hearing you talk about your father and your mother and your different experiences, it made me realize that, man, you were prepared for the work that you were doing. So as you think about the experiences that you wrote about in this book, can you look back and share how you believe how all of what you experienced was preparation for your service and service to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and our nation?
Yes, I can say, even back into my childhood, I never was the type of person that liked to play a lot. My brothers done played and all that, but I was like a serious kind of person.
Wow.
But a little shorty. But I don't know why I was that way. And when I went, my grandfather, he had a big farm and all that, and he had us out there farming. And I used to be out there in that hot sun as a young person. I always was working. My grandfather used to tell me, he used to call me back then, he used to tell me, Billy, you're gonna have to help your cousin, my other cousin and my brothers. Them. He told me back then, they was older than I was, but he told me, he said, you're gonna have to help them in the future. I never quite understood it when he told me that. I wondered what granddaddy was telling me that fun. They older than I am, but because I was a serious kind of fella. And I used to sit at my grandfather's feet and question him. And he would tell me all about farming, all about how he worked, how and this was his word. He said, I never worked for the white man. Back then, because he had the land. He showed me how he lived off the land. My grandfather was a land baron. I mean, his whole family was. We got plenty of land. And he would buy a new truck every year. He had new tractors. I mean, all equipment. My grandfather had that back in the days.
Wow.
And when I told Honorable Louis Farrakhan about my grandfather, how he came up, my grandfather bought the first bus. He bought the bus. Back then, for them to go to take the children to school, he bought the bus himself and his children. And my mother, they drove the bus and picked up the community children and took them to school. That's the history right there in itself that needs to be told.
That's true.
But all that coming on up, and then when I started working if you know it's in the book, I started working at that Jewish store.
Yeah.
Working there, you know, and I didn't even realize this until the minister sent me to Atlanta, and I went back to my home to visit. And one day I said, I'm gonna taking a drive from where I used to work to the front door of my house where I used to live, because I used to walk there every day and never thought about how long was the walk. Going back, we used to say being prepared. And when we drove from the front door of the store to the front door of my house where I used to live, that was 22 miles. And I walked that every day from that store to my home in the evening. I caught the school bus to school, finished school. When school was out, I had to walk from the school down to the store. And when the store closed, I had to walk from there to my home at night. And I used to walk down there by myself. And I used to wonder why, because I could have stayed in the city with my aunt's house. But my mind, I went home every day to my father. But I was being prepared, like you said. I didn't know it.
Yes.
And they was preparing me for the long haul. And that's why when I came into the nation and the minister put me to work, the long hours didn't mean nothing to me. By the grace of God, I used to wear people, the brothers will tell you right now, I used to wear brothers out. And I never got tired. Because I was already prepared to do that. And then when the minister called me, and I know it's in the book, I told you, when he called me to the palace 6 o'clock in the morning one morning, you know, going to the palace, man, in the morning, you get a call and say, just, I need you to meet me. All kinds of things go through your mind. What did I do? Did somebody say something?
You're real.
I got to keep it real.
Right.
And then when the minister called me in, and he met me at the door himself, opened the door, and we went into the little small room. And we sat down. He said, I called you here this morning. He said, I wanted you to know. Now check this out. He said, I wanted you to know that last night I went into your mother's womb to see what kind of material you was made out of. Now I'm saying, since early in the month, what? And I ain't say to the minister, I'm saying, well, what are you doing in there? My mother's womb. I said to myself, and then he told me that, and then he said, you was born to help me in this work.
It's a fact, brother.
Right. And then after he finished saying that, he dismissed me, and I went back home. But I'm saying, so the minister was doing auditing before we even knew anything about auditing. But all that was preparation for me to do the work. And that's all I can say.
Listen, I'll say this again. This is why you all need to get this book. Because if you want to see how our brother is, the way he is, and how he's able to do what he does, listen, this book will help you understand. It has given me a greater appreciation and a greater understanding of our brother Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad. So you have to get this book because he talks about those things. And for those who are watching, I kind of designed the questions where we won't go. I designed it in a way where we won't go into the book. You're going to have to go and get the book, right?
Praise be to Allah. That's right.
They need to read this. Now, in this book here, The Ambassador to Love, in the beginning, you say about how the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is one who, he doesn't dwell on a person's shortcomings. you mentioned how that he will discipline you one day and he don't come and remind you the next day about whatever your shortcoming is. Can you share like some stuff that you didn't share in the book? Comes to your mind or some stuff you can share about how he does that and even why he does that?
Well, I'm telling you personally that I've gotten spanked so many times, brother. I'm telling you, hey, and I'm telling all the brothers and sisters, listen, you don't want to get spanked by the unbelievers Farrakhan. You want to stay on the good side, if I can use that language. Man, I have gone to the past. I've gotten so many lashings.
Can you share one? Can you share one if you can remember?
Well, the Honorable Farrakhan always told us, you know, back then, I don't want no consignment for the Final Call newspaper. He made that very clear. Because consignment is debt, and he did not want none of the believers to be in debt. You get what you pay for. He said, if you can't pay for but 10 papers, then that's all you get for a city.
Wow.
But then at the same time, I had a quota that we had to meet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I had to meet with the Honorable Farrakhan every morning at 6 o'clock sharp at the palace. Everybody else sleeping, but I had to meet with him. So on paper night, you know, most of you know what paper night is. It used to be.
Some of those nights.
Those nights, man. We had to get that paper money, and then at that time, we didn't have no internet like we have now, Facebook, Instagram, none of that. We had to get that money by Western Union, a MoneyGram, and then brothers used to be at like 3 o'clock in the morning, going to a Western Union somewhere to get the money in, and the Western Union was right down the street from the Final Call, and the county executive would be getting that money in, and then sometimes we would get the money in, sometimes the brothers would, look, I can't get the money into the Western Union closed in there, in one of them little country towns.
Yeah.
But they said, but Cap, I got it. I give you my word, I got the money. Now, it's gonna take a few minutes, you know, say 9 o'clock before the Western Union opened. We had that money supposed to be in the Final Call by 9 o'clock that morning. All the money. Now, I would take a chance and say, brother, now, but Captain, you give me your word. You got the money. I got the money all in my hand right now. I have it, but the Western Union is closed. So now, in order to try to meet the quota, I gotta make a call. So I take the chance because the brother give me his word. I know he got it, but the money. So that means that the money gonna get to Chicago late. And the accountant, the minister, want that money on his. He want the report on his desk Monday morning. That the money, the paper's in, and the money's paid for. Oh man, I used to hope the accountant used to be late. The minister called me to the palace. Boy, Brother Sharrieff, it come to my attention that X amount of dollars is not in. Oh boy, he just lay into me. I told you I wanted all the money to be in, but I couldn't explain nothing right then. Because when he talking, you listen. I don't care what you say, you better listen. I said, yes, so I learned how to take it. Yes, sir, Brother Minister. Yes, sir, Brother Minister. And then I tried to explain to Brother Minister, the Western Union, the cities was closed and they had the money, but I was trying to get it in, but I guarantee the money in. He said, that money better be in. But I'm telling you, the lashing that I had to take, and I wouldn't even tell the brothers the lashing I took because I didn't want them not to get the money, then the paper orders go down. But, and then he would do that like 6 o'clock in the morning, we had a meeting, and I had to be back there by 5 o'clock for dinner. Because he want me to want to report for what took place that day. Now, I'm in my mind at first, I'm thinking, oh, wow, I got to go to dinner. I'm going to hear this again. Oh, I'm going to get it again. But when I get to dinner, the minister don't even mention nothing that took place that morning. He don't remind me of nothing. He goes on to whatever is new. And he has done that in many occasions. Once he give you a lashing and give you his instruction and guidance, he don't come back the next day and remind you. And I learned that from him, and that's what I tried my best to pattern my life by. When I correct a brother and tell him something he did, I don't drive that in his head and beat him over the head with it. I go on next day. They think I'm crazy because I don't even mention it. But they already know in your mind that you already corrected me. Now move on to something new. Now, if I did something new now, I'm going to get it again. So that's some of the personal things that I've done from him. But I learned from that. So I would practice that and then put that and use that over the men of God. Yes, don't beat the men of God over the head. Correct them and move on.
Wow. It's interesting that your last statement, thank you for sharing that. You said a men of God. That's going to lead me to another question I was planning on asking later, but I'll just jump to it. in the book, you talk about how the great joy that you received in being able to train men, how you get a joy of training men. And you said, especially training men in the Nation of Islam under the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad. Can you share with us what from your experience and from what you learned from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, what are some of the essential things that need to go into an effort to train men and to train men in the way of God?
Well, I would say one of the main things is being able to be obedient yourself. See, before you could train men and give them discipline, the trainer need to be disciplined and able to take instructions and then pass them on. But if you're not a disciplined person and then you're trying to discipline men of God, that's going to be a conflict. What I learned from Honorable Louis Farrakhan, I'm telling them it's very critical, is his word is bond across the board. And when he tells you something, I've learned this, and I'll tell the whole world this. When the Honorable Louis Farrakhan gives me, I'm telling this personal part here now, any instruction, I strive my best to carry it out exactly as he gave it to me, or gave it to me. And I found out by doing that, I was successful. I said, well, this is easy. And this is when it comes in here and obey. And that's why you'll find out in the whole pattern that what I did, see, and when the scripture and they raised this question, will a man rob God? Yeah, some people will rob God. They'll take the credit from Honorable Louis Farrakhan as if they got it from themselves. Not me. I'm going to tell you where I got it from. I got it from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And this is what he said, and this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it closest to what he told me to do as possible. And I found out in my whole life being around him, when I do what he tells me to do, it brings back success, even when I didn't understand it.
That's it. That's
yes. And that's how I've disciplined men throughout the whole nation when I was older men. Your word is bond, brother. You carry your word out. And he told me with the Quran, the minister told me with the Quran. That's why if you go back and watch all my videos, the old ones when I was coming along, I always had the Quran in my hand. When I came to your city, I had that Quran in my hand.
That's true.
Because he told me, if you stay in this book, you'll always be safe.
Wow.
And that's why if you notice all the lectures that I ever said, you will find me saying, well, Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, or the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said, or Allah said. You'll never find me saying, I said it. Because then when you step outside, then you're on your own. No, sir. Allah said it.
But it's interesting. No. This is you talk about in the book, and I remember this because I was coming up in the ranks when you would travel around and you were speaking heavy about verbal abuse. You were really teaching the brothers. You were like very hands-on with the brothers. Like, what made you so hands-on with the FOI when you were over the FOI?
Because that's the way, and that's what it took. The brothers want to see the leadership. They don't want you to tell them what to do without being an example, or you would do it too. There's nothing that I asked the brothers to do that I wouldn't do, and did do. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan was hands-on with me, with his words. He would give me instructions, give me guidelines, then I had to work out in between that parameter, but he was hands-on. I had to be with him every day. Most people don't know that. I had to go every morning, 6 o'clock, and be at that palace. And he would give me his instructions. So then when I went, brother, because I'm telling us, and this is just God's words from the minister. The minister didn't give you a whole lot of time, but he didn't play. There wasn't no room in there to play. When he gave you instructions, he intended for you to carry those instructions out. So, and he would question me. And I didn't want to come back with no on nothing, because he wasn't going to accept that. That's why when the phrase came out and I put it out into the nation, make it happen, we had to make it happen. I couldn't go back to the minister and say we couldn't make it happen, whatever has to be done. So we had to make it happen.
Yes, sir.
So to the brothers, and I'm saying I was hands-on because I wanted to make sure that the brothers were trained right. And that's why you notice through the nation when I went around, because when I was in DC as a soldier, they put me on post for 8 hours. I'll never forget this. in New York. My legs, my knees was hurting. Boy, I was hurting. But in my mind, I said, they're not going to break me. I'm going to hold my post. But I said to myself then, I said, if I ever, by the grace of God, get in a position, no soldier would ever have to suffer this, what I'm going through now. And I was way before anything. I ain't know nothing about being on Supreme Captain. I was just a soldier working. And the blessing of that was in New York, when the minister got off the stage at the armory, they brought him right through and had to come through the stairways where I was holding posts at and got a chance to get a minister to greet. And the pain just went away. So I said it was well worth it. But then when I became the Supreme Captain by the grace of God, that's why you will see. The minister told me, he said, if you notice Raymond Sharrieff, he said he would get the messenger to the stage where he was going to speak at. And he made sure he was secure on that stage. And then he would leave that stage and go around and check all the posts to make sure the men was on their post. And that's why if you watch the video, early on when we was on post coming in with the danger and all that threats from the Jews, I would get the minister to the post, stay there no more, not even quite 15 minutes. Then you see me easing off the stage. And then I went around to every brother on post and would stop and ask, brother, how long you been on post? Because I told no brother should be on post past 30 minutes when we had all those men. Boy, and they knew. They started looking. They said, oh, you coming off the stage? Boy, these are words. But I made sure the men were taken care of, hands-on. Made sure that they didn't stay on the post that long. And then you'll find me making my rounds. Then I'll come back on post on the stage. Yes, but that's hands-on.
And that's why you got to get the book, because he goes into this in the book for those who don't have it. You got to get the book. You go to www.abdulsharrieff.com and make sure you check it out. Since you talked about your time and some of the things you did when you were a Supreme Captain, in the book you talked about how that if you said, if I were to go back and you had that opportunity to serve in that capacity again, as you reflected on your time there, you said that you realized it was less spiritual and more like militant, right?
Right.
That in the book, and you said that if you would go back, if you would do it again, you would have a balance of the spiritual and a militancy side, because you said an environment was created where the work was so tough that some brothers left the ranks, right? So right. If there are any of those brothers that are watching this broadcast, or they may watch it, or if you had the opportunity to talk to any of those who were during that time, and they may have, the pressure was just so strong that they left, like, what would you tell them now, knowing that?
First of all, I would ask them to forgive me, and I would apologize, because during that period of time, see, everything is in timing and stages. During that time, we had to rock with the nation. We had to roll that final call, had to get out. We had to move, the minister moving around the country. So patience was short, because we had to do it. But now, a little more balanced. I'm a little more balanced than I was then. And I would apologize to them. And I would say to those same brothers, man, come on home. There's plenty of work to be done. Come on home.
What do you think that has helped you to become more balanced?
The spiritual part. I've gotten more in the spiritual part now. Yeah. See, I was spiritual, but not as spiritual as I am now. And then I have had a chance to listen to the ministers teaching us how to be balanced, the study guys. I got in the study guys more. And I've now try to balance my life now, or more spiritual.
We appreciate that. In the book, you said this in a very definitive way. You said that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught you about the importance of being loyal, right? Can you explain?
Yes, sir.
He taught you about the importance of being loyal and how to be loyal?
Yeah, see, right now, you don't know who to trust. I mean, just in life, here. And it's hard to find somebody that you say, man, I know this person right here, man, is very loyal. See, talk is real cheap. It's real easy to say, man, that's my man, he's loyal. But you put him under the trial. Wait till trial come along. See, Allah blessed me to be able to travel with the minister all over this world. And loyalty. The minister said one day at a meeting, I'm not going to go into the meeting, but he said loyalty means more to me than anything. See? So people can talk that talk, but look, if you walk the walk and see the walk that we walked and what we went through, when we started off securing the minister, we wouldn't get no money. We didn't get paid to do that. We did that from the love, from the bottom of our heart, man, Brother Akil and I. Well, I mean, we went all over this country. It was a long time before we started getting some money. But we made money. We know how to make money. But we stood outside the minister's door all night long, man. We didn't get paid for that. We did that for the love of that man that was in that room. That was loyalty, brother. See, a lot of brothers come around now, they just want to get a camera shot or just get a chance to get a picture. And then you hold them for a few days, they gone. That's not loyalty.
That's right.
Yeah.
For social media. Well, and since you talked about trials, you know, the minister, one of the trials that wipes many of us out is the trial of improperly handling disappointment, right? So
yes, sir.
In your journey in Islam and just being in the nation, how can you share with us, how have you handled disappointment when you were encountered with it, so that some of us can learn as well?
But see, that's when you get disappointment, that's when you really see how deep is your love. See, it's almost like when you say you marry, and a great trial come up to you in your marriage, and you even get disappointed in your marriage. Then how deep is your love though? Because then now your love being tested. See? It depends on the circumstances with your wife or the circumstance with the husband. Oh, I'm on a divorce. I'm out of here. Oh no, I'm not gonna get no counseling. I'm disappointed. I'm so disappointed now. I want out. That's the only solution. No, well then, in my journey coming on, one of my greatest trials was when I was relieved. Now, all the good that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan had done for me, now because I was relieved from a post and I'm still a brother, you mean now my disappointment, now I'm gonna get angry with the minister and turn on him and then turn on the nation? Not me. I took it like a soldier.
That's right.
And God is my witness, man. And to this very moment, the same way, I could never thank Allah enough for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, for what he has done for me. A little poor boy from me, like, come out of this. I say the backwoods of Brunswick, Georgia, that is so dark back there, they had to pump daylight.
Dang.
And he take it and allowed me to come and be with the man of God and then take me around the world 3 times. And then now some come up and out. All that don't mean nothing. I'm just going to get angry because of posts. I didn't come to the nation for no posts. See, a lot of people say that. But when you try that, okay, we're going to see. Because God going to try you. But see, but my love was so deep for Allah, God, and his servant. So you can't say that you believe and not be tried. And those that went before you was tried. See, and most of us fall out when the trial comes. Because disappointment. See, well, I faced mine by the grace of God. And I went to God. See, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan told all of us, you have a right to question God, but you just have to be respectful. See, because it was like a whirlwind hit me. So I went straight to God. I didn't go to nobody else and nobody around blaming nobody. No, I didn't do that. Not me. I didn't do that. I said, Allah, you permitted this. I would sure like to know why. Now, most people, right, man, ain't gonna do that. They're not gonna talk to God. I went by myself and talked to God, Allah. And he soothes my soul. See? And that enemy never crept up into my mind. Oh man, all I did, and now no, none of that never came this way. You can talk to all my children, you can talk to my wife, they'll tell you I never uttered a word. And they bet not even thought about doing nothing like that. Not me. That's actual facts.
Wow. Well, this thank you for sharing that, because that is something that knocks a lot of people out, that disappointment. We know that was that disappointment.
Yes, sir.
Turned Judas against Jesus. You know, he had this disappointment. So with this,
yes, sir,
I'll break it up, but like, what lessons have you learned from the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, either by observing him or maybe he shared words in these areas? I'm gonna mention 4, but I'm gonna give you each one to take the time out. So what lessons have you learned from the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan as it relates in the area of having faith?
Well, I'll tell you what. When we first came to the nation, remember the minister said he went and him and his wife would go and pick up the vegetables from the farmer's market at night when nobody was around to feed his family. Because he had enough faith not to want to rob or do none of that kind of stuff. Well, when I was relieved, man, I was doing, you talk about dirtball bad. I'm talking about financially.
Yeah.
Man, I was hurting. And where was I going to put a resume? Former Supreme Captain. Who's going to hire me? I mean, where I was going to go get a job and take care of my family. That's when going back to you say faith.
Yeah. Faith.
But I had faith in me and in God that I know I was going to make a way somewhere to take care of my family. I didn't give a damn what I did because I remember what my grandfather told me long time ago. He said, Billy, if you even have to be a ditch digger, you be the best ditch digger there ever was. I never forgot that. So when I started getting ready to fall on hard times because I didn't have no money, I had to go inward and go to Allah and say, man, what am I going to do? Because that was a blow to me because I wasn't expecting that, but it happened. And that's the first time my wife had to go to work. But she, she was an attorney, so she had the background. She just never had to work.
Wow.
But my wife went and got a job and didn't take, I'm telling you, that's why about the females, man, brother. That's what I'm saying. They don't, when they got a made up mind, it don't take long. My wife went, in a few days, she had a job, making good money, just that quick. I said, good God Almighty. But I said, man, I'm not going to rely on my wife to take care of me. But the Honorable Louis Farrakhan told me, at that time, he told me, I want you to read the life of Job in the Bible. So I started reading Job every day, and I would lay on the sofa. I would get up during that time, take my children to school. I had never done none of that because I had the time. But now I got plenty of time. I wouldn't do it. My children felt more in love with me during that period of time. They tell me to this very day, I was able to take them to school in the morning. They look forward to me picking them up from school, going to pick my wife. They enjoy all of that, but they didn't know how we was going to eat. So I was reading the newspaper and I knew there was they had a little franchise called Clean Net. You go and clean buildings at night or they'll give you cleaning. So I said, man, well, right now I can do that because I ain't got to put no resume in for something like that. So I'm gonna make it real quick because I wasn't going to get the book. But I went and got a franchise, got a little small franchise called Clean Net. I went and the first thing they gave me was I had to clean they gave me I think it was 3 daycare centers and I was cleaning them at night when everybody going home and then I had a office building I had to clean, but it was big. It was money beginning to come in. But I cleaned toilets. Yeah, former Supreme Captain. At night, I'm in there literally cleaning toilets. And I in my mind, I'm saying, I'm in here cleaning toilets. I'm the Supreme Captain. A few days ago, I can call me. But as I was cleaning those doggone toilets in my mind, I said, this ain't gonna be like this always. But I cleaned them, and I did such a good job cleaning the cleanness. Cleaning the office buildings and stuff. They asked me, did you want to take on more contracts? And I said yes. So they gave me the biggest contract they gave me was a YMCA, $25,000 a month. I said, I'm back now. I'm back financially. I'm talking about, and I'm saying to people, I clean toilets. Not shame of it, but I did it because I had faith in Allah. And the minister told me, but man, the minister is so beautiful. He would call me every now and then just to check the pulse. And he asked me how I'm doing and stuff. I said, brother minister, man, it's rough, but I'm all right. He said, brother, down is not out. He said, down is preparation for up. And then hang the phone up. I said, good God Almighty. And I kept on rolling, and that's how I got back. For us financially.
Yeah. And so
I never gave up. I kept the faith.
Wow. That's a beautiful testimony. So the second thing, what have you learned from observing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, or he may even share as it relates to family?
Oh, Honorable Louis Farrakhan loved his family. There's no doubt about that. And he told me one day, long time ago, he said, Brother Collett was on the scene then, and Brother Collett had said some disparaging things about the minister's daughter and children one time.
Wow.
And I was angry. I wanted to, wait away, I ain't gonna get in all that part.
Yeah.
But he
We
said,
get it.
the minister said, look, you can tell a man if he loves you or not, how he treats your family. I never forgot that.
Dang.
How can you say you love my family and then talk real crazy about my family?
Wow.
Then that is no real love.
Wow.
And I never forgot that.
Wow.
And that's why you can check my record. You ain't never heard me say no disparaging thing about nobody's family. I don't talk about people's family. Because I learned that principle from the Honorable Farrakhan. See? And because I watch him. He helped millions of people's families. See? And I learned that from him.
Wow. That's
yes, sir.
That's beautiful. And so the other one is, what have you learned from observing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? What has he shared also as relates to addressing fear? Fear.
Oh, man. The Honorable Farrakhan told me and us, but he have told me, he said, everybody has fear in them, but challenge your fear though. See, and that's what we need to learn how to do. We need to learn how to challenge fear. Remember the story he told about the bull?
Yes.
Right. That's what the minister had to do. That bull, that was real. But the minister challenged the fear in him. And that's real. The fear in you would jump, God would take it out of you and put it on the opposite person. I'm telling you, brother, when the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said long time ago when we was working, he said, when the brother came at the palace and wanted to try to fight brothers, and the brother had his hand on the gun, and the brother got the gun, the FOI got the gun away from the brother. And when the minister said long time ago when he said, brother, between the trigger and your finger is a law. I never forgot that. And when we went to DC and moved into that housing project, when the brothers came up under attack, the guy had his hand on the gun and came out with the gun. But I remember, and I talked to brothers that I said, brother, always remember between the trigger and the finger is a law. And you call on the God. And when you call on the God, it'll freeze that brother. When that guy came up to the car, put the gun to my head. Never forget that, to the window. And was trying to shoot. We read him because he had the gun right up on the glass, right by my head. If the gun would have went off, he'd have blown my head off. But the trigger, the gun wouldn't go off. And after Brother Akil drove down, we drove off fast down the street. The brother he hit the gun on his hand and the gun, and he fired it in the air. He looked at the gun because he was confused. That's what I really, boy, you talking my faith was strong then. Wow. At that time, I didn't think I could die.
Wow.
I said, no, Allah's not gonna let me die. Man, I was really crazy, boy, with and because I knew dealing with faith and fear. If you challenge fear, the fear will leave you and get into the other person. And that's real. And that's another story when the police came up on the brothers trying to arrest the brothers. I was in the office with the chief of police.
Yep.
That's when he kind of crossed me.
It's in the book.
It's in the book. And I'm telling you, when those brothers called, I'm talking about the FOI call on the guard, when they said Allahu Akbar, and the police, all of them had automatic weapons and shotgun, it put fear in the police with the gun. They backed down the step. The chief of police told me to my face, he said, I'd never seen men like that before. I'd never seen my men with guns was scared. And the brother was saying, Allahu Akbar. They didn't know what they were saying. He said, whatever they were saying, they put fear in my men. And that's because of what the Honorable Louis Farrakhan taught us, man. You call on the God and go to work.
That's right. And
that's real.
And this is what I'm about to say. This is my personal opinion from after reading this book. I don't think it was no coincidence that one of the first minds to have the FOI to go into housing development started in DC. Because the way, as you talk about in this book, the way you brought those brothers, the God Squad,
yes, sir,
and built those brothers up, is only where you can have a group of men like that you've helped to transform in that way. They'll be willing to put their lives on the line. So for those who get the book, because in the book he talks about what happens in Mayfair Mansions. He even talked about what didn't know, because a lot of people, you know, with these TV shows, we like to make over the big dope dealers. He talks about in the book, I'm not going to go into it, a meeting that he had with Rayful Edmonds.
Yes, sir.
Rayful Edmonds was this big dope dealer in DC. Yeah, they had him on BET as I forgot the name of the show he's on, but he talked about it in this book, right? And so for what you did, it's a beautiful story to see how you took men by the help of Allah, and men who thought themselves as being nothing, and
right,
and produced some of the great leadership in the Nation of Islam came out of those squads.
That's right.
So y'all gotta get a book. One of the brothers asked online, he asked a question, what do you like, how do you view the crime that took place in Mayfair Mansion compared to the crime that was taking place in the Rockwell Gardens in Chicago? You remember that?
Well, yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Well, the crime in Rockwell Garden was on a whole nother level, because in Rockwell Garden, it was very well organized.
Mm.
It was crime, but it was organized, and the brothers was well armed. And in DC, they was armed, but they wasn't well armed. They wasn't trained like the brothers in Rockwell Garden was, because they really didn't have quote unquote gangs in DC like that. But in Rockwell Garden, but because of the respect they had for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, we was able to go into Rockwell Garden and organize and do the same thing there. But the difference was we sat down with all the gang leaders out of respect and talked to them.
Mm.
And because of the respect they had for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, they listened to us, and then we was able to make a truce, have a truce. And they went on, did their thing, wherever they had to do that, and we did ours. But out of respect for the men. See, you gotta have respect. I don't care what lifestyle you live.
Mm-hmm.
You have to respect other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So thank you for sharing that. And another brother asked a question. He said, like, you've had the opportunity where you were around the minister in private moments and public moments. And the brother asked, you know, what are some of the things that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan likes to do when he's in his private time? Does he listen to music? Does he watch movies? If so, that's what somebody asked.
Honorable Louis Farrakhan is a serious man, but he does like classical music. He listens to classical music. He plays the violin. He get up early in the morning sometimes and plays violin. During that time, real early. That's why, brother, you be up early, minister, be playing the violin early, because he's a master in whatever he does. And yeah, sometimes we used to go to the movies together. Sometimes the minister, just him and I used to go to the movie, because he used to tell me, he said, sometimes no security is better. It's the best security.
Wow.
Because people never expect to see him and I walk into a movie and sit down and go to a movie. They don't expect that.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so he loved the movies. And then he loved to watch fights. He loved to fight. He loved that.
I like to watch the boxing matches, huh?
Yes.
You, brother, this is a question. They said, you've been around Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan doing his health challenges. And they said, if so, how did it affect you seeing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan sick and, you know, in the times where he'll go in and out of the hospital?
Look, I'm telling you, you talk about pain, because a lot of that, nobody didn't put in their book, but to see the Honorable Louis Farrakhan in excruciating pain, and you can't do nothing about it. And you hear the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, but he calling on the God. Oh, Allahu Akbar. He was in so much pain, you hear him, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Man, I'm saying, I used to say, oh Allah, could you take the pain from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan and give it to me?
Wow.
I seen the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, when he gives his word, this trip we was going to Richmond, he went to the doctor in Virginia, the ones that gave him those C's. And then he had a speaking engagement in Richmond. We was driving on the bus, and he was in pain. But we were driving on to Richmond, and the minister said, no, I gave them my word. And I'm saying, but we can get somebody else to speak in your place. He said, no. He was in pain too, man. I'm saying, he said, no. And then watch. Once he got on that roster, Allah took the pain. You would never know he was in no kind of pain. Allah took that pain right away from him. And he taught for almost 2 hours. But then when he got off that roster, nobody got a chance to see him. We took him back to the hotel, the pain that he was in. But for the love of the people, he sacrificed his life for real. But the God always looked out for him. But it affected me. He said, how it affect me? It bothers me, man, when I saw my leader in a position where ain't nothing I could do but pray. But then I watched the God take him out of it. Just like when he said he went to death's door 3 times. To see that psychologically, to see your leader, you got to be strong. That's why the brothers around the minister right now, man, I my hat's off to them because I know, man, their faith, man, is strong, man, to see your leader, man, that the whole world looking at. And then you see him in that position, man, with pain and hurting like that, man. And then you see him he called Law Akbar, call him Master Prophet Muhammad, man. The minister been tested and tried. I'm telling you, that's a man of God, and I live on that. You know, most people say I'm gonna die on that. I'm gonna live on that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Listen, I tell people, this book really is 25 chapters. Like the first 2 chapters after our brother tells a story about his personal life, everything else is his life in helping the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. When it says a soldier in the movement of Christ, this is a testimony. And from how I ended, look like there's another one that's in the works, huh?
Yes, sir. Already started on part 2.
We gotta get that. So, you mentioned about your wife in the book, and you talked about how she put love in your children. Do you think, are women like that made, or they have to be taught to learn how to do that? Because you said this, after your daughter was born, you went on it was a couple of weeks in the Caribbean with the men's, and then it went to a 6-month world friendship tour. Your daughter hadn't been named yet, but your wife kept it together. Is there a women like that born that way, or they taught that way, or what?
Well, I would say that's a woman of God that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan had trained from his teaching from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And my wife was trained, her first teacher was, her trainer was Sister Bessie Jean. She loved Sister Bessie Jean. And they taught them how to be a woman in that class. That's why the MGT class, I don't care what nobody say, you don't like this, I don't want to go to class. Now, that training that's in that class, if taken in, is real in your life. And you'll find out that most women, if you check it out, if they say they're MGT, I'm just saying this, when there is a conflict in the house and they really seem like they can't get it together, then they have strayed away from their 7 units or whatever's taking place in their training. My wife, well, I'm telling you, because ministers, like he said, and he say to this day, a woman can either put hatred in the children for you, or they can put love in the children for you. And my daughter was 2 days old.
2 days old.
2 days. And we were supposed to be going to the Caribbean for 30 days. And then we ended up being going throughout the world for 6 months. When I got back, my daughter was 6 months old.
Wow.
But when I got back, my daughter looked, but all my children ran. Dad, they missed me because my wife put love in the children for me. See, now it could have been the opposite. You gonna love me, oh, your dad ain't no good, and put all that madness into the children. I'd come back in, they wouldn't even know me. But that wasn't that way. My wife, I think a lot. She told me, her words to me was, it take a captain for a captain. Because, you know, she was a captain during that time.
Yeah.
She's a captain for a captain. God damn it.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Once when you came here, this was after you were the Supreme Captain, when you came to the city of New Orleans once, you shared with us about your struggle for balance as it relates to being in that post and quality time with your family. Can you talk about that and how your wife was she showed you how you can that quality time is not so much the same as quantity time? You remember sharing that?
Yes, sir, I remember that, because usually most men, and we use that sometimes as an excuse and sometimes it's real, we always like to say, well, I ain't got no money. You know, women, for the most part, they want some quality time with their husband. And in this work, sometimes we use the work as an excuse, and sometimes the work dictates that you put a lot of hours in, but you have to balance it. And most of us fall short of balancing the hours and the time. Well, my favorite word was to say, look, I got to work because I got to pay these bills. And my wife was a person like this. She always loved to go and take the children so they can experience freedom and go to the parks and drive to other cities, just drive around. And all it cost was gas because she wasn't spending a whole lot of money. Then she told me one day, and this is one you wrote in your book about.
Yeah.
I stayed home. She said, look, you ain't going nowhere today. You stay home with the children. She said, come on, I'm going to show you something. I use the word kidnap. She kidnapped me, got me in the car with the children, and she drove right up to out there where we used to live. Nice, beautiful park. We pulled up to the park. They had swings and all kind of things for the children. And she said, now look, you see, this is free. The children ran out and started playing and they were having a good time. Then she went and sat in the swing. Now she said, now push me. She had to tell me. She said, now push me. And I pushed her, and she swung back and forth. And she said, look, you notice this is free. Then we got out of the swing. Then she grabbed my hand, and then we started walking around because, around the park, they had the sidewalk around the whole park. So we walked and held hands because we still could watch the children. She said, you notice this is free. It cost us nothing. I couldn't say nothing. I couldn't say anything. What I did, I learned from her, and I went back to the class. Well, now, like I got a revelation. I was teaching the brothers, you don't need no money to have quality time with your family. You can go to the park, it's free. Walk and hold your wife's hand. I got it from my wife, but I got a revelation.
Yes, sir.
That's how I use quality time.
And we thank you for that. And once again, in regards to the book, I read it, that's why I'm pushing it. In the book, brother talks about how the different things that he will bring into the FOI to the brothers. And it was effective because you talked about how the wives of some of the brothers was coming back. Thank you, Brother Sharrieff. I don't know what you're teaching them, but he did this. I'm not going to say what they said he did, but in order for you all to find out, you have to get the book, right? So we have 3 more questions. I love the whole book, Brother Sharrieff, but I think chapter 18 and 19 are 2 of my favorite chapters because you talk about what you did about how and the organize. When the minister asked you to come to the meeting at 6 o'clock and he said, I need you to get the school together. I need you to do this. And you talked about how when there was they had certain products from the final call that were not getting out and what you did with that. Can you talk about, like, from your experience and being around the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, what have you learned about mosque administration, how to be effective at administrating a mosque, and just organizing a group of people to accomplish a certain goal?
What I've learned mainly about us and I use as Black people, we do not like to meet.
Said that.
Well, let me say it again. And I guarantee you'll find that up to this very point right now. Organizers, laborers, and lieutenants, and brothers and sisters side, but mainly on the brothers side, whatever it was. We do not like to meet. When I was in D.C., they used to call me, oh, Lord, here come another meeting. I used to get the brothers. I used to put them in the van. I used to ride the brothers. I'm talking the lieutenants and the brothers in my squad. We used to ride downtown at night. I just show the brothers. I said, brother, see the lights on in them office building? I said, those white people up there, they meeting right now, and they meeting about us. I said, then now let me show you something. I'm gonna ride through the Black community where we so-called had our been lights out, closed. I said, we don't meet enough. But we was taught, study the white man. He make no excuse for his failure, see? So I always believed, I took that with me because I read books on organization. You have to meet. You have to make people accountable, hold people accountable if you're gonna be successful. So I took that with me in DC. And when I went to Chicago, main thing I did, I met with the brothers. When I first got to Chicago, I think we had about maybe, we had 12 lieutenants with a big old mosque and a big city that we had to take care of. And I know we couldn't do an effective job with 12 lieutenants. The first thing we did, I had officer training class. We started making lieutenants right away. Then I made the lieutenants accountable for the men. When we had FOI class, I had all the lieutenants stand across the front. Now, where's your men? They're supposed to be at FOI class. And I have some men with nobody standing behind them. What can I ask, brother? Where's your men? And I said, did you call them? Yes, sir. Okay. And I have my phone right there and right in the class. I take my phone out. I had the list. And I would call 2 or 3 brothers in the squad. Brother, when the last time you heard from your lieutenant? I ain't heard from my lieutenant in about 2 weeks. So I say, Lieutenant, you just lied to me. I said, do you know the penalty for lying is 90 days? I said, I tell you what, fall in. Since you can't get your men, I made them fall right then, made them fall in. And when you did that a couple times in front of everybody, all the men, oh man, they got busy. Because they know they did not want me to call and find their men say that they did not contact them. So sometimes you got to go to the extreme to bring about a balance. But meeting, to answer your question on that point, you have to organize, meeting, deputize, supervise. And then you got to ask questions. So you make everybody accountable. If you're going to take the post, you're going to be accountable. And that's something you find that we don't necessarily like to do. We want the title, but we don't want to do the work.
This is for those if you're in a position of leadership in the Nation of Islam, you definitely, it's one of the benefits of getting this book, because he talks about some of the things that he did, and it still can be applied today as well. So we have 2 questions. A brother wanted to know, he said to ask you how were you able to get us to do 700,000 final call newspapers in the winter months in 1997?
Well, by the grace of God, of Allah, with the minister knowing that the minister looking down your back. That's one reason. And then the other reason was that's why you had to organize. You have to organize. And then you have to be, that's why the minister named me the driver man. Not trying to be arrogant or none of that, but you ask the question, I got to give it to you raw.
That's right.
You have to drive. I was a driver man. I didn't ask the brothers to be at the final call on Monday night for paper night and I'm home in bed. I was right there with them on that phone. We didn't have no internet, none of that. And we had everybody on that doggone goddamn phone. And I'm saying, look, I used to motivate and inspire the men by region. Okay, New York, what you gonna do? You gonna let Washington, D.C. outdo you? But it was what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had said, a righteous competition. That's how we was able to inspire the men to do that. Through the word of God, coming from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan.
You talk about it in the book. Two last questions. One, and I want you to think about this. What would you say has been one of the most profound lessons that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught you? Or you've learned from being around the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? What's like one of the most, like, man, this is one thing that stands out to me the most, if you can think about it?
I only think I can tell you right away.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I know that I learned from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan that's quote unquote like it's extraordinary because I watch him do it, is to be able to take a cursing and give back a blessing. It seems like that's impossible to do.
Wow.
I used to watch the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. I watched Jesse Jackson. I watched Mary Bear. All these people, excuse me, I got a little ingram. Disrespect our leader. And I wanted to do something to him. I'm talking about really physical. But the minister, he didn't play that. He wouldn't allow me to do that. I watch him take a cursing and give back a blessing. And by him giving back the blessing, I watched with my own eyes how Allah, God, lifted the minister up higher and higher above all of them. And where are they today? Because the minister practiced taking a cursing and give back a blessing. And it's written in the scripture, but we can't, most of us can't handle that part. But I learned that from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, and I strive to practice that. Where people have done all kind of stuff to me and said all manner of evil to me, and I remember what the minister said: take a curse and give back a blessing. And I watch how God will lift you right on above all that. And when the scriptures say, I'll make all your enemies your footstool. Now look at the minister's enemies. Look at him. Because he never gave evil for evil. He took a cursing and gave back a blessing. And that's how he's an extraordinary man. And I know that to be an actual fact. I learned that from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan.
So we started off by talking about, and thank you for your openness. Thank you for always being willing to share. Even before this book came out, you've always been willing to share. And I talked about it, how when you were invited up to Chicago to give your lecture, it was just a testimony about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So I thank you for that. My last question is this: like, what advice would you give to those who have the privilege of being around the minister, to observe his character, observe his love and his commitment, and even those believers who the minister has done things for them, the minister has prayed for them and they have healed, the minister has paid for things for their, some, you know, came to their aid, but they have these testimonies and they're sitting on them and they're not sharing them. Like, what advice would you give to them to help them overcome whatever it is that's preventing them from telling their testimony about this man?
Well, I would say what comes to my mind right away is this, and I'll give this advice to them. Do not ever take the Honorable Louis Farrakhan for granted. I'm gonna say that again. And do not take liberties with the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. See, when I say take him for granted, when he's done all these things for us, and we won't even open our mouth to testify of the good things that he did.
That's right.
You're taking him for granted. No. Tell about the good works that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has done, and he has not said anything to nobody about. When the scriptures say, which one of these good works you condemn me for? Because the enemy gonna condemn him, but that's on the disciples, and disciples less. So we have to testify of the good works of this man in our midst and what he has done and is doing.
It's a fact, man.
So our people that don't know nothing about him and say, ooh, who are you talking about? I'm talking about the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And I want to say this, Brother William, you know, I'm going to drop this out there, but I wasn't going to say it publicly until it come out. I'm going to drop it on your show.
Yes, sir.
The next magazine that'll be out in a few days.
Yes, sir.
Everybody keep your ears and eyes open for what, and watch out for it. It's going to be an earth-shaking announcement.
Ooh.
So keep your eyes out for the Rise magazine. I'm telling you, it's going to blow. The whole world going to be blown in a few days by the grace of God if I live. So don't get it. Oh, you watch. Keep your eyes out for it.
Rise up. And thank you. So, well, we're going to close on that. Is there anything any closing words you want to share? And also, I know in Atlanta, you all are always working on something innovative. You all have and continue to be an inspiration, a source of inspiration for me. So I guess that was what the big announcement coming out for the Rise magazine. But any closing words that you would like to share?
I would like to say to all the brothers and sisters that's listening, Christian or whoever, look, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is the mouthpiece of God in our midst. I want to say that again, just in case you didn't understand what I said. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan is the mouthpiece of God in our midst. And those of you that may not have been reading about him and studying, you need to go get all you can find about him and study him. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan is the mouthpiece of God in our midst. And I'm saying to all of you, please get the book.
Get the book.
Buy the books, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Brother Willie, for pushing the book and giving me the opportunity to speak freely. I thank you so very much. My family, thank you. And I say to all of you all, thank you all for allowing us the time that you have. But the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, remember these words now, is the mouthpiece of God in our midst. May Allah continue to bless you with the light of understanding. Love you all. Love you, Brother Willie. Thank you very much.
And listen, for everybody, we did the interview, and I intentionally, with the help of Allah, I prayed to Allah that we did the questions where we wouldn't ask him in a way where you would talk about in the book. What he talked about, a little parts in the book, but listen, he didn't go. This book is, once you get this book, I can't stress enough, you won't be able to put it down. You will not be able to put it down. Make sure you order your copy. You can get it on ebook, and make sure you get the books with the pictures as well, right? And listen, just get the books. That's all I can continue to keep saying, because when I like something and I get a benefit out of it, I really push it and try to share with everybody else. So thank you, Brother Sharrieff. Thank you for family. Thank Brother Josh for what he's doing. And all of the believers who have now are starting to get testimonies. Our Brother Sherman, Brother Joshua with the People's Podcast. Thank your family. I know she's home. Let her know you all are in our prayers.
Thank you.
We can't thank you all enough. And thank everybody else who came on. And may Allah continue to bless you all. Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan Mubarak.
The Ramadan Kareem.
And look, I got some of your team helping with this Zoom. So salute to our sisters Rosalind, Brother Desmond, and our other sisters with the Z, sisters. Sharrieff, thank you all.
Yes, sir.
The team helped us out, so thank you all. Sir. And may Allah continue to bless you.
Thank you, team.
Love
you, family. Thank you. You did a great job, team.
Yes, great.
People.
Yeah.